Hello and welcome to the F1 Sim Racing World Championship 2025. I'm so glad you can come and join us for what is going to be an incredibly chaotic and exciting and add a bit of intrigue into that race as well as we go racing around the Jeddah Corniche circuit. So, looking forward to this. On the desk joining me to offer their expertise, I have just to my left, I have Matt Gallagher, host of P1 with Matt and Tommy, former sim racing driver Marcel Kiefer. And you might be thinking Alex Jakes looks a little bit different. That is because it is not Alex Jakes, the one and only Joel Taylor joining us as one of the stewards. So let's not be about the bush. Let's get straight to it. We're looking forward to the race, but there's been so much talk, gentlemen, about penalties, and who better to talk to about that than Joel? First of all, what is it like being a steward involved in F1 sim racing? You love your job, I know, but just give a context for people. What is a day in the life like for you?
So first of all, thank you very much for having me. Day in life is actually really interesting. It's quite fast paced and there's lots of stuff to check and go over throughout the events. Typically the day will start with getting back into the office. We'll check the race from yesterday, mainly from the broadcast side of stuff. And then we'll generally look at the track map, which we're going to be approaching that day for time qualifying. We'll sit down, adjudicate the time qualifying session, and that's involved with reports that we get from spotters and from teams as well. Yeah,
and I really appreciate you coming to join us because no steward often comes into the camera area and has the questions asked to them, but because there's been so much talk about it, it is brilliant to have Joel here just to kind of clarify a few things, because there is a process. The teams get to appeal every decision that they might not like, and then it gets adjudicated in the spotters. So there's a full team working on this, Matt.
Yeah, and Joel's entered the lion's den. He's literally on camera. So, yeah, really appreciate you coming on the show.
No problem at all.
It's just clarity, isn't it? I think that, of course, with results coming out and, for example, Otmir getting those penalties yesterday and just trying to clear up things of exactly what's gone on. Of course, there's other penalties that are dished out after races, and you guys are very, very busy. But yeah, I guess for a lot of people at home, they just want to know what that process is like. Of course, there's loads of appeals and things like that happen. But I guess what is stage one of the whole stewarding decisions?
So stage one would be the initial report that we receive. So the actual team itself is made from myself as a head steward. Then we have Ben and Ross as my event stewards, basically. And we have Josh, who is our replay operator. We currently have 10 spotters. So spotters are what would be traditionally known as a marshal on circuit. They would report incidents that they see. Each spotter has 2 pods that they're watching at all the time. And they can report anything such as contact, anything off track limits, anything, along those lines. The teams also have the option to report issues as well during the race. So we've got a lot of information coming in throughout the whole session, and we evaluate every single little bit of footage, and we check over that and determine basically if there's been an infringement, and if there is, to what level we apply a penalty.
Yeah, and I also really appreciate you taking the time to answer every single one of Marcel Kiefer's questions from previous years gone by. Let's have a look at some action on track. Let's turn our attention to Shanghai and what happened with some of these penalties, Matt, with Ismail Fassi and the 2 Haas, well, twice for Thomas Gal, but the 2 Haas drivers when they had a chance for some points finally.
Yeah, exactly. So we had that whole, well, Alex didn't want to call it Slipstream Gate earlier. We're going to call it Slipstream Gate from China, of course. The Haas drivers falling foul of that, as you can see, by the infringement reasons. And Ismail Fassi, we saw that as well in qualifying where he impeded. I believe it was one of the McLarens going into turn 1. And it was a very fair penalty. But yeah, I'm very keen to have this kind of clarity of exactly what's going on in the championship moving forward. And I think you are as well, Marcel.
Let's get into it. Let's see that first infringement or issue and talk about it. And from the steward's perspective here, this is this blocking, I guess.
Yeah, so this would be an incident of impeding. And on this occasion, it's actually quite straightforward to see. The Williams has come out of the pit lane in front of the other car. He does pull over to the right-hand side and move onto the grass. However, he's in the racing line, blocking a hot lap. And that's simply just not acceptable. Anything what impedes or potentially disadvantages the driver, you will be picking up a penalty.
And Marcel, you agreed with that one?
Slam dunk.
Fair
The shortest answer he's ever given.
You saw it here first. Okay, let's head to Bahrain then, and just to give us a flavour of what your sort of penalties that were coming out or being dished out. Marcel, which ones stand out for you?
I mean, obviously, I think the hottest topic were the ones from Jarno, because a lot of fans were upset when they saw he didn't finish where he finished. But when you actually see what happened on track, I think everyone that has two eyes and a little bit of racing sense, they will understand why he received these penalties. So, yeah. I think I will leave it to the steward because I don't want to get in trouble here.
Well, let's have a look then at one of the incidents from Shanghai then, Joel.
So this incident was actually an unsafe entry into the pit. So you can see here from the Haas, it looks like a very, very late decision, goes in very fast and makes contact with the Mercedes.
And he sped in the pit lane as well, so it was a double blow.
And that is correct. So the game itself actually picks up on that and would issue a 5-second penalty for speeding in the pit lane. However, as a panel of stewards, we determined coming into the pit lane and causing that collision, making that contact, was also worthy of the penalty, so it was issued with a 3-second penalty as well.
Okay, well listen, I know you've got to get your spotters everywhere sorted in line. Joel, thank you so much for joining us on the disc. I'm going to say goodbye. That is your time, unfortunately. That is your time, Joel.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. If you leave my office now, please.
Yeah, run before Marcel asks you any more questions.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
But Marcel, obviously, when you were a former driver, we spent a long time in the green room talking about decisions. You might not like it, but there's a team, there's a process. They go through all of the footage. They have to make a decision. And fans don't necessarily like it, and drivers don't like it, but you have to accept it. That's the decision that's been made.
I mean, to be fair, it's like that in every sport. I mean, in football, you have decisions where you disagree with the referee, you disagree with some of the stewards' decisions. In racing, I think that makes sports. There's also a certain factor where you might just have different opinions. But in the end, with a rule book, they are trying their best to dial it out as fair as possible. And I think at the moment they are doing a really good job at that. I think in the future, it's also, of course, down to the drivers. If the drivers abuse the rules as much as they can, they shouldn't be surprised if they get a penalty.
Yeah. And Jarno, a two-time world champ, had 2 incidents with a 1-second penalty. Can we break those down potentially? Should we do that now? If we could just have a look at one of them, Marcel, and what do you think he's done here?
I mean, it's pretty obvious. He braked a little bit too late. He caught the back of Alfie Butcher, and Alfie, he lost no position yet, but obviously he was very close to the cars ahead, and we discussed it. If there's an incident or something, or people battle, they can maybe lose out, and there's different packs forming, which can affect your race. If you're on the slipstream train and you suddenly miss out of the DRS train, you're probably going to fall back quite a few positions, and someone else can maybe take advantage of it. So I think it's a fair 1-second penalty. It could have been even more, but I think it's good that they only toned it down to this level.
And as a driver just down there, two-time world champ as well, Brendan Lee will have some talking points after that hairpin as well in one of the races. What about this other incident, Marcel? Could we take a look at that one and your view on this?
Oh, I mean, yeah, this one was actually also an obvious one. I mean, it's hard racing, but in the end, rule is rule. And Jarno picked up a little bit of understeer, pushed off Dani Beresnay, and with that, Beresnay had a slight disadvantage in going up to the right-hander. They were still side-by-side, but initially they were fully side-by-side, then Dani was a little bit behind, and Jarno made the move stick. So he gained a slight advantage. It was also a 1-second penalty, I think. If you see these two onboards, there's nobody that would disagree with that.
And I think it also opens up the conversation, doesn't it, of the severity of penalties moving forward. Of course, we've seen 3-second penalties handed out already this season, which I think we all agree is very severe when you think that 3 seconds could genuinely be covering about 8 cars, especially if it's just a bit of wheel banging, pushing someone off the track. I'm all for 1-second penalties, 2-second penalties, because it's still harsh, it's still severe. You're still probably losing 3-4 positions potentially at the end of a race, but it's not completely race ending.
Yeah, I mean, that might be the case. I'm curious from Marcel's take on this. As a driver, you've been given some of these penalties that we haven't got time to go into them now. And I mean that with love and respect, because it still eats at you. I think that's fair to say, Marcel. So how do you deal with that as a driver? Because Jarno would have had that post-Shanghai, feeling good, has a chat, has an interview with Claire Cotting, who you'll see later on the show, member of the team, and you're furious. Then you have these penalties. It sort of puts a dampener on the day.
Yeah, I mean, as a driver, actually, you don't really think about, you don't really care in the end too much about it. If you get a penalty, you get a penalty. But obviously, if you go from maybe P3 to no points because of a 3-second penalty, even though in real F1, the gaps are sometimes a little bit bigger, and we are kind of trying to replicate F1 as much as possible, but everyone knows how close esports is. I believe a half-a-second penalty or something like that sometimes is more fitting to the gaps that we currently see in esports. That could already be 2 positions in certain battles. The 1 second penalty, I think, is the most reasonable, but 3 seconds is already changing so much. So, yeah, I think there's actually a debate going on between teams, stewards, drivers. They are looking into this for the future moving on, but I think that would be a healthy thing for the competition, that it gets adjusted to esports level.
Okay, well, if anything changes, we will let you know on this desk. That's where you get all of the hot news. Can we talk about sim racing in general? Because people who are fans will have tuned in tonight to watch race 4 of event 1, and it has been spectacular already. Are we going to get a 4th different winner? But in terms of the passion and where that came from for you, Marcel Kiefer, and maybe why you're no longer racing, let's go back to the beginning days. Why did you get into sim racing? Why did you love so much about it?
Honestly, I always wanted to become a racing driver, but we all know how difficult it is to make a living out of racing or even getting started, because it's so much money. Alone karting, you need to spend a lot. And I'm not saying that simulators are the cheapest thing that you can get into when it's about gaming, but if you compare one of these professional sim rigs that the F1 esports drivers use, compared to a go-kart, it saves you so much time, money, and frustration. Because motorsport sometimes can be a bit rough in that aspect, but with these things you invest usually one time and then you can just drive unlimited. And that is kind of what got me into it, like this thought, okay, I can still show I'm a decent driver. And when F1 esports came around back then, I just wanted to get involved. It was literally the first year when I got into sim racing, and then I saw that and I was like, I need to be part of the best drivers in the world. And then that was my motivation.
I remember back in 2017, we were at the arena, Matt, and there's Marcel trying to get his way to Abu Dhabi. You were already world record breaking back in 2010 as well, Matt. Was it the same for you, for sim racing?
I mean, I've always loved racing. I remember, as I say, a bit further back, 2010 and all the way through to sort of 2013, I'd be in my room just playing the game 12 hours a day. And it's the same, I didn't ever get to this level, but it's the same kind of competitive spirit. I'm so competitive, so I get how these guys feel. So yeah, it's incredible how far it's come and how much it's evolved to right here, right now.
Yeah, and Otis Lawrence said the other day, he was 9 years of age back in 2017 when we started everything, and look at him now. And people can see that progression, and maybe unlike in the real life F1, they can actually be here, maybe competing next year. They're probably watching now going, that'll be me in one of those rigs. It is so accessible, and to have some success in it as well.
I mean, it's crazy. I mean, you can always compare your lap times to the actual pros. You can see how much better are they than you. But in the end, they are also just using either PlayStation, Xbox, PC, whatever. They play the F1 game, they do their best, and they can be here one day. I mean, if Otis Lawrence, when he was 9 years old, that's when I made my debut. If he would have walked up to me and be like, I'm going to beat you in a couple of years, I would have probably been like, all right, calm it down. But he actually would have, because this lap was insane. So, yeah. I mean, it's just unreal. But anyone can do it.
We're looking at these drivers now, like Otis in a shot right now. They seem calm. They seem just composed. Matt and Alex Jakes, who'll be joining us in a bit, talked about how much of a different vibe there is in the studio today. There seems to be a little bit more smiles, people joking around a little bit, just trying to get relaxed. Put our viewers right now in the place of the mindset of a driver getting ready for that race. Maybe things haven't gone your way. What was it like, Marcel?
With this event concept, usually for some drivers, the event went really good. For some, it didn't. And here you can see me trying to beat the other drivers. Actually, it's so difficult when you are part of these events. You arrive here with so much preparation, you put so much pressure on yourself, you can feel the tension between the drivers, especially before the first round, and then when you get slowly dialed into it and you actually make your first kind of results, they come in, or maybe actually you're not too happy, you still look forward to the final race of each event, as it's just like a little refreshing moment,
When you look at that, does it, I mean, you got a cheeky grin on your face, but what does that make you feel like? Does it take you back? Does that feel like yesterday?
Yeah, I miss it. Honestly, when I see it, I miss it a lot. But I mean, it's sometimes, you move on in life and you try out different things, but especially the days with Red Bull, when I was in 2020 dominating with Reddy and getting that constructors title, that was very special, honestly.
And no one can take that away from you, Marcel. Well, look, as I say, and I'm sure people know this as well, it's so good to have you on the desk to offer up your insight. I didn't actually ask, how old were you when you started sim racing?
I think 18 or 19 years of
Okay,
age. Yeah.
well, let's see a driver starting out at 5 years of age. This is just for a bit of fun and to just say how cool sim racing is. This is Regan Pfeiffer, 5 years of age, getting into sim racing.
It's fun. You never tried that before, but you need to try it. It's hard to go. It's at 5, 6, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yes, I need a... That guy is so fast. I'm catching up to him. Yeah, Dad, I just passed a car. Come back here. Dad, look! Did you just saw that? I just passed that car. Oh, shoot! That car again. Whoa, that's a lot of people. Oh, shoot. I just crashed. That was a really, really high one.
Can you not have a smile on your face watching that? That felt like some of the F1 sim racing drivers there.
She's already quicker than me. It's unbelievable.
I mean, I'm not even going to get into sim rig. We haven't got time to watch that
No,
embarrassment.
I've seen you do that.
Yeah, but that's incredible to see, and just the love of sim racing right now. So many people are getting into it and enjoying it. That's what we want to see.
Honestly, I took that serious. Like I was actually like analyzing her lines and her input. Like for a 5-year-old, that is impressive. That is actually like I can't believe that. I think in 10 years she's gonna walk up here and she's gonna beat Otis Lawrence. That would be a story, honestly.
Mark these words from Marcel. Right, let's get into it then. We've started. We brought you up to speed with all the stewarding decisions to give you that insight. Let's talk about quali from earlier on. We're seeing the sights of the Jeddah circuit here, Matt, and it really threw up some surprises. But are they surprises now into the race 4 of quali?
Not too many surprises, no, in terms of the pole sitter, because it was Ismail Fassi once again. But there was a huge surprise in the start of qualifying, Q1, or the end of Q1, with both the Ferrari drivers out. Of course, they have been struggling, but that was still a next level of surprise to see both of them, including Barry Burmand, literally yesterday's winner, last race winner, out in Q1 and starting 19th.
Yeah, it's going to be very difficult for them to get out of that. I want to talk more on that in a second, but let's get the recap from some of the drivers involved in quali earlier on.
A great lap there for Donoso, and that means that both Ferraris are into the drop zone. Tormala, Josh Idu, Lucas Blakely. Is there still time for improvement? And we go over the line. The answer is no. Big names falling once again. Here is our championship leader, Matt.
Ismail Fassi, let's see where he ends up. It's fastest of all. That is a huge final sector from Fassi.
It's an amazing feeling, you know, 3 poles out of 4. That's something that I've never expected to happen, to be honest. The confidence is so high right now. The lap was just amazing till the last corner where I tried to secure it as I knew I was coming very fast. Yeah, I lost quite a lot of time, but was enough for pole, so yeah, very happy.
You're looking for Jarno Opmeer now. Another former champion, another driver taking provisional pole by 100th of a second. And Otis Lawrence had it for a second. The championship leader snatches it out of his grasp. The Williams man is fastest. Fassi is having the time of his life.
A return to what I would call form that we expect from, as you called him earlier, and Frederik Rasmussen. I like that. He's starting in P5. You also said earlier on in the quali show, Marcel, that it could be up to 5 places behind who could take that win. He got his 13th win last year. He's gone on to get 15 in total now. Could this be the return to some sort of form that we expect from Freddie Rasmussen?
I mean, I hope for him, yes, because if he goes out of this event at least with one good showing, I think they could help him a lot, because I can imagine right now he's not feeling too great. Usually the events had 3 races in the past, so his first event back then, that would have been his worst. When we were teammates, we had always 3 races and he had only 1 point so far. So if he can get 25 or maybe 26 through the fastest lap, that would be big for him.
I want to talk about the front row. Otis Lawrence, it's been a brilliant start. He'll want to begin in his first podium in this competition, Matt. But Ismail Fassi, you can't not talk about how incredible he's been.
He has, in qualifying in particular. Obviously, he's just put himself in the mix. 3 poles and just every single qualifying session in Q3. And that in itself is a feat. The fact that he's been able to be right at the front when other drivers have fallen puts him right as championship favourite at this point. So Fassi also in the races is in the mix. Of course, Bahrain was chaotic, to say the least. And of course, when he won from pole previously, that didn't tell the whole story, because it wasn't a lights to flag victory either. So I fully expect him to have such a difficult time to take the victory tonight, because the word we've been saying the entire series for this particular race is chaos. Chaos is coming.
Are you willing to risk it all, is my favourite line so far from event 1. Duncan Hoffland got his debut in the championship, and he is with Claire Cottingham right now.
Yeah, we were just actually having a conversation about if he knew who Dustin Hoffman was. Turns out you don't know, and that has blown my mind, so we're going to Google that afterwards. Duncan, you have been out there racing today. It feels a bit weird to not be racing on the last day, does it?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, for me it's been with the first 2 races in this championship. Unfortunately not driving this race in Jeddah, but I'm sure the guys will do great.
Yeah, I'm sure they will. It's going to be really interesting to see what happens in Jeddah. It's always a race in real life as well that causes a lot of chaos out there. Have you settled in, though? Has it felt like 2025 has got underway and you're happy with it?
Well, so far it's not been a great season for me. I think Otis has been doing a great job for his rookie season. Unfortunately, I got kicked out in Q1 twice, both by I think only 200ths of a second, but it's so close. So unfortunately, and then in China I got damaged myself in lap 1, and in Bahrain I made a small mistake and got a penalty. Still P9 on track, but I got kicked out of the points. But so far I think we have almost matched the points already that we scored last year. So we're making progress, and I think that's the most important thing.
And what's interesting about you guys as a team is that there are 3 drivers, and you will be using all 3 drivers throughout the whole season, which we don't often see up and down. A lot of teams like to maybe stick with 2. So is it nice to be able to be one of those drivers on the rotor?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think Otis is going to do all races, because he has shown how quick he is, and especially in qualifying, so consistent. And then me and Fab are switching around, and then we can decide who's quicker on which track. So we're just practicing all 4 tracks both, and then later on we decide who is doing which track, and probably going to split every event. And yeah, I think that's pretty good. Just focus on 2 tracks instead of 4, and then that way you should be able to score more points.
You mentioned Otis there a couple of times. Obviously, your teammate, he starts second on the grid in Jeddah. A really impressive qualifying performance there. Is he bringing a lot of positivity to the team? Yeah, for sure. He works really hard. He knows what he can do. He can be very confident. It's a very good thing, obviously. Yeah, he's really good. He's been in the scene for a very long time as well, despite his age. And yeah, just his pace, and then me and Fab can work towards that as well. And so far, I think even Fabrizio, with the experience he has, everyone is very useful in its own way. So yeah, really good combination. Well, he's sitting behind us. He's so chilled out at the moment, having a lovely time. Good luck. I know you're not out there, but good luck for the team. Thank you very much.
To beat Renhar in Jeddah, I need to just have to stay out of the walls in the race and make up some places if you get a bad qualifying.
It's a mystery to me, but one thing I will say is I think Frederik Rasmussen's got this one pretty much to bed. 5.7 seconds clear becomes 5.8.
Yeah, need to be smart, especially with Freddie. He's probably the most relaxed driver there is out there. So that's going to be very tough to beat.
So I can beat him on Jeddah. I did it last year, so hopefully we can do it again.
There's probably the penultimate and last corner, probably the last corner the most, where you can overtake on the inside and outside. Especially the last lap, it can be tricky. You can either manage to go wide in the last corner and set up for the exit, or you can send it up the inside and hopefully stick it, and hope for the best.
Some swapping there between Thomas Ronhaar and Lucas Blakely, who immediately diverged down the inside. There's still a switchback, just could not quite find it.
For me, it's just like a luck track where you send it and hope for the best.
Those two drivers, you've seen Frederik Rasmussen has 1 point and Thomas Ronhaar has a 7th place finish in Australia. P2 in China, and then in Bahrain he had a 6th place finish. I feel like there's something in the air. The Ronhaar will return and maybe pick up his first win. What are you looking forward to in this race? How do you see it going, Matt? Who are those drivers to pick out?
Mate, I'll be honest with you, predicting this one is going to be tough, and it's usually tough as it is. But this one, it's going to come up. There's going to be strategy involved. I think we're still going to see a 2-pack in the sense of some will start on, or there'll be an alternate tyre for the drivers, maybe further back to go on. But yeah, Ronhaar, he hasn't really left. He's just not really arrived in the sense of being victorious yet. But it's going to come. We all know how quick Ronhaar is. He just needs to. In a couple of races now, he's been a bit too aggressive, and I think he will rue those moments as well, because they both could have been race-ending. He got away with it, but I'd like to see him maybe just be a slightly more measured in this one, as much as it is chaos. But that might actually pay dividends, just not sending the dive bombs that we've seen so far this year.
We're looking at the tyre strategies here. Marcel, I'll put you on the spot. Which one would you be going for around Jeddah?
Honestly, even though we have these strategies, I think, from what I've heard, it's probably going to be another hard something strategy again.
So none of those?
Maybe not. But I think we will see a variety of strategies. I think we will see some on the mediums, some on the softs. And eventually, honestly, any strategy can work if you are in the right position, I believe. Like, we saw this so far in every single race. The strategy on paper that should be the fastest was not the fastest. Usually someone else won, so yeah.
I've got so many questions here that we're running out of time. I was going to ask you about Esteban Pukki. Was that the right decision? He's in for a Drivers' Championship, but then it's about... We just haven't got time. We haven't got time. Marcel, been excellent to have you on the desk to start the show. Wherever you are watching this, is going to be a brilliant one. I will pass over to Matt Gallagher and Alex Jakes now.
Thank you very much, Tom. We're going to be joined by Alex Jakes. And we are ready, Mr. Jakes, for... I think it's a whole load of chaos, don't you?
Oh, I think, given what has been spoken about time and time again, this is going to be something special. 6.1 kilometers, 3.8 miles, the highest corner count of the entire season so far. It is fast, it is flowing, and the walls are really close. Get ready for an incredibly intense battle in Jeddah. It is going to be our final round of the event. It's going to be a contest that you can't really predict, Matt. I mean, how ridiculous that we can't predict after all the action, after seeing who the front runner is. Fassi is the championship leader, but it really could come down to anyone out there stepping forward. We saw the podium positions decided late on at the final corner 1 year ago. It's Declan Barrett at the back in 20th. Barry Burmond, our race winner yesterday, finds himself in 19th for Ferrari. To the next row we go with former champion Brendan Lee in 18th position. Then it's Crozen in P17 for Haas. Next up is Nicolas Longuet. He finds himself behind Lucas Blakely, the McLaren man, going from 15th. Josh Edu is in 14th position, and Joni Tormala will be alongside him, their teammates. And then it's Thomas Gau in 12th. Alvaro Caraton is in 11th position. Jake Benham back in the championship and starting from P10. Fabrizio Donoso pumped up in qualifying and managing to get to Q3. Danny Beresne in 8th. Alfie Butcher is 7th on the grid for McLaren. Then it's Thomas Ronhaar who will be looking to move forward. The same applies to our winner here last year. That's Frederik Rasmussen. Then it's Jarno Opmeer next to Tom Manley, who looks to try and finish in 3rd position, having managed 4th in Bahrain yesterday. Front row, Otis Lawrence and Ismail Fassi, 3 poles out of 4 attempts in F1 Sim Racing 2025.
I'm looking around, Alex. I'm feeling the tension now. It was laughing early, it was jovial, but now it is crunch time. Qualifying is done. Fassi is on pole. Otis Lawrence wants this more than anything. You can see him there, ready in his cockpit. The strategies are being locked in. The drivers are just sat there on the grid waiting for the lights. How is this going to unfold? The final race of event number 1.
Here come the lights, and we're ready to go racing. At Jeddah Corniche Circuit, we're underway. Lap 1 of 25, and our pole sitter gets to the apex first and maintains the lead. Ismail Fassi ahead of Otis Lawrence. It's very well behaved at the start as everyone plays the long game. The only positional changes further back in the field where Brendan Lee has climbed to. The entire top 15, Matt Gallagher, behaving themselves in the opening corners of the opening lap.
Behaving themselves on the strategy as well. I'm seeing hard tyres for every single driver out there. What that's going to mean for the race, I'm not too sure, but we're not going to see that crazy 2 packs that we've seen in previous races in this event. It's going to be interesting to see when the hard tyre runners towards the back of the field decide to come in to the pits, but we've not got anything crazy yet in terms of the strategies of the 20 drivers. Crucial for Fassi to continue in the lead, and not the chaos that we maybe expected on lap 1.
Give it time, my friend. Give it time. We expected elbows out on the basis of the entire championship so far. The reason for that is it has been so aggressive at various points, but everyone knows that if you fight in the way, like ferrets in a bag, which is what we've seen in the previous 3 rounds, if you do that early on, your chances are 0. If you take it to the end, there is a massive opportunity, and there are drivers in the field today. Drivers like Brendan Lee, who's gained a couple of positions, they cannot afford to not score. They've got to play themselves back into contention, including Lucas Blakely, running at the front yesterday, found himself falling through the field with wing damage. The Red Bull pair are 4th and 5th. Manley is running P3. We have ended lap number 1 with our front row in the same order that they left the grid hatchings. Otis Lawrence is in 2nd place, the 16-year-old rookie, and the man in form, the man who is absolutely flying, Ismail Fassi. Now it's beginning to come to the boil. Joris Krozen down 1 place. The Haas man is racing up against Declan Barrett, who is making his 2nd start today.
I don't think it could get worse for Ferrari. They're 19th and 20th. They haven't gone forward at the start of the race. If anything, Longuet's gone back 3, as you can see on those position trackers.
Barry Bermond spoke to us afterwards in qualifying. It was good to speak to us afterwards, given the result that he had. He said the setup isn't there. They are 19th and 20th. Everyone is nose to tail, but this is borderline unprecedented for 2 proven race winners, one of our championship contenders from last year in Barry Boromond, and they are 19th and 20th. Really extraordinary scenes right now. It is corners 22 and 23 that they're making their way through, the crucial ones that cause so much drama in qualifying. Lots of DRS for the drivers to work with earlier on, and now we're heading to the hairpin. There's a hairpin at the far end at turn 13. There's a hairpin at turn 27 that sends us on to another lap. And I tell you what, this reminds me of Baku, when we had an absolutely wild first ever GP2 race there back in 2016. And then the Grand Prix was the most well-behaved thing you've ever seen for Formula One, because everyone was so psyched out that there was talk of carnage and chaos. And I think that's why we've got hard tyres everywhere, and I think that it's why we've just seen the most well-behaved opening 2 laps that I have ever covered in this championship. Did my first race back in 2020.
So true, isn't it? It's so true. Very well behaved, no damage to report as far as we're aware, no penalties. But that's going to change. I am fully confident that is going to change at some point. Let's get a replay of the start then. Fassi gets away very well indeed.
I think you're going to go, yep, and it stayed as it was.
Wow, the back 5, they were really fighting. As you can see on the timing board there, constant changing of positions. Longuet was up to, 16th, stayed 16th at the beginning, and then lost the next 2 positions on the first lap. So really upsetting for the 2 Ferraris. But it's going to be very interesting to see how this one unfolds.
Let's hear from the man in 3rd place. Tom Manley's in the mix for a podium finish today.
They are very fast.
Yeah, they might be quick, but you got this though. No stress. DRS is here now. You're pretty much saved.
Yeah, they are very.
No race over this time for Manley.
No.
He's right for the lead.
Change for the lead out front. Otis Lawrence hits the front, and that well-behaved start, you can delete it now because we're about to go racing. Otis Lawrence in the Aston Martin, chasing his maiden win today in just his 4th race in the championship. This is F1 Sim Racing in 2025. Otis Lawrence in the Aston Martin. He's had great glimmers all the way through this season so far. A season where Fassi has been superb for Williams. Can Lawrence get in with that championship battle? Can he get in the mix today? Either way, just held the lead for the moment. We're expecting this one to go all the way to the end. When you've got a rookie in the field, almost guarantees that we're going the distance with this one on that 4 of 25. Let's look further down the order. Nicholas Longate, Barry Beaumont, they've made a position on Brendan Lee, and Brendan Lee, who's calling it quits at the end of the year, down to 20th. Thomas Ronhaar is his teammate in the kick, and the Dutch driver is closing in 6th place. Had really good pace earlier on in qualifying, just didn't happen for him in Q3.
It didn't, no, and Ronhaar still in the mix though. He'll be reasonably happy with the fact that he's in 6th place and very much in with a shot of the victory here. Very well behaved still on lap 4 of 25 as we head into the final corner to start another lap. But Otis Lawrence, yeah, he just decided, I want to lead from the front, I want to dictate the pace, and actually, Fassi is now coming under pressure from Manley.
Yeah, Manley's got a run here. Manley's got a chance. That looked really nicely judged, didn't it?
Little defensive shape.
Yeah, really nicely judged. Matt, they have a variety of different tools for energy deployment this year, more options available to the drivers.
Yeah, absolutely, and this is why we've seen more overtaking this year as well, because they can play with it more. They've said, although this track might be a little bit more difficult, just with how high speed it is, but they can save energy easier. It's more efficient, and they can go on the attack more as well, as Lawrence is very much on the attack, as you can see. 6/10 is a massive amount of time in F1 sim racing, but of course with Fassi in the slipstream, he'll be able to close up as Ronhaar dispatches of Frederik Rasmussen, who's gone wide in fact and lost another position to Butcher.
So it's Otmar in 4th, gaining a position and climbing to 5th place. Thomas Ronhaar, Alfie Butcher said, is that door open? Yeah, I'm going to walk through it. And he gets to 6th position. Frederik Rasmussen having a torrid time, you have to say, in his title defence. The driver who has just 1 point score all the way through this championship so far, shoved wide, passed, not just by 1, by 2. He's down to P7.
Yeah, we saw that one slightly late. I'm not sure if there was contact or not, but it's very unprecedented to see Rasmussen make a mistake like that, if it was indeed a mistake. But Butcher, yeah, making the most of that one, taking advantage of Frederik Rasmussen running wide, and the Red Bulls that were running 4th and 5th are now 4th and 7th, and Jarno Otmar very much flying the flag at the moment for Red Bull. Danny Beresnay now on the back of Frederik Rasmussen, and looks like Freddie used a bit of energy there to extend that gap and defend P7 for now.
Yeah, lead change for Fassi, taking it back from Otis Lawrence. If you're wondering why we're not getting all shouty and excited, we're going to get a lot of this. They're working together, and I do wonder, Matt, after the brawling that we saw, certainly in Melbourne, certainly in Bahrain, whether everyone's taken a breath and gone, we're going to form the sort of partnerships, might not be teammates, but we're going to form the sort of partnerships that we've seen in previous years.
Yeah.
Because if we keep risking our front wings, you cannot risk. For 2 drivers going for the championship in the mix, so many are still in the mix, but for Fassi, can't afford to risk a front wing like he did yesterday.
Exactly. It feels like Peloton in cycling. They swap and they just want to make the most of this. And it was interesting, I think Danny Beresnay in Australia, it was interesting to hear from him and the fact that first and second work together in order to make sure they finished first and second, even if they're not in the same team, if you see what I mean. Like they try to utilise the slipstream to make sure 3rd and 4th don't come into play. So this may well be what Fassi and Lawrence do to ensure that Manley doesn't get in the mix, because of course there are 3 completely different teams. The top 6 in fact are all completely different teams, so they're not going to work together too much.
Danny Beresnay in the mix once again. What a lovely sentence to say for the driver who started today 5th in the championship, started his campaign with a couple of 3rd places. The beat for the DRS as we go over the line. Otis Lawrence finds himself managing to hang on to the lead, and Tom Manley getting to the first corner ahead of Ismail Fassi, and our pole sitter has dropped down to P3.
So this is what Fassi doesn't want. He's okay being passed by Lawrence, but falling to 3rd then puts you under pressure from, Jarno Otmar in 4th. So it's not like he was going to be particularly looking in his mirrors as well, is Fassi, because Jarno Otmar, although not too close at this present moment, you can so easily get gobbled up by the field behind you, and that's what Fassi needs to make sure he doesn't do. He's not got that much experience on his shoulders, but he has shown a very cool head so far in this 2025 season, and Fassi right now is going to want to just reset, go back after Tom Manley, try to reclaim 2nd, because that's the position you want to be in as we head further into this race.
It's lovely and finely poised at the moment. It feels almost, dare I say it, relaxing compared to the previous 3 races that we've had.
Bahrain was relaxing. At
You're
this
right.
stage,
Yeah.
halfway through the race,
Melbourne,
it was
almost
relaxing.
a gentle start to this.
Yeah. We thought, okay, we can sit down for this one. No. Halfway through Bahrain, we thought it was going to be a chill one. It wasn't after that.
No, stay with this. I promise you it will come to the boil. It might come to the boil right about now. A former champion, Jarno Opmeer, trying to go around the outside. He's been given the racing room. That is so important. He was penalised for not doing that yesterday. From pole position to down to 4th place. Otis Lawrence trying to stay ahead of Tom Manley. Jarno Opmeer going up a position. Otis Lawrence hanging on to the lead. And Fassi, there's one thing working with the group that you're in, it's another thing tumbling to 4th.
Yeah, it's getting from bad to worse now for Fassi. 4th place is still not a disaster, but he has to make sure of the likes of Ronhard behind, who we know is not afraid to send a move, as we've seen already this season. So Fassi, once again, has to stay with Opmeer if he has the pace and try to take that position back. But yeah, Fassi losing positions at the moment and struggling ever so slightly.
Yeah, not going to plan, but he can regroup. Remember, we've still got the tyre stops to come. And that will be crucial. Your in and out lap is going to be defining here. Everyone threading the needle. One of the great privileges of being able to be here and see the drivers at work is just how gentle it is in terms of the steering input. There's no soaring away at the wheel. It's fingertip stuff as we get to a crucial corner. And they're flirting with that inside wall. Nowhere near what we saw earlier on when it came to Formula One qualifying. But this is going from a concern to an issue for Fassi. Ronhard is now on the prowl. It's the first time all championship that Fassi doesn't appear to have the race pace to contend, and he's now looking in his mirrors rather than at the head of the field.
Yeah, he's going to have to defend into turn 1 as well, and maybe use a bit of energy for Fassi as Manley's shaping for a move as well, but tucks in, and Ronhard thought about the inside line, tries the outside! Tries the outside!
Thought he was going to drop the car, still pointing in the right direction, tried that wide swoop in, tried the late turn in, and it nearly cost him a position to Alfie Butcher, who was hoping that someone else would open the door in front of him. Ronhard did it the last time. Butcher got up to 6th. Go on, Matt.
In the pre-show, I said that Ronhard might, well, rein it back a little bit after a couple of very near misses so far this season. Forget that. He's still trying it. He's still trying. I don't think he wanted to oversteer as much as he did into that corner. Ronhard gets away with it again, stays in 5th. And you wonder about his tyres, of course. He doesn't want to do that too much because it will spike the temperature and therefore the tyre wear, and then he will start to lose pace. But right now, Fassi, yeah, really clinging on at the moment to this train.
We've got a yellow in sector 1.
Brendan Lee's out.
Which is unusual.
Yeah, Brendan Lee's out of the race.
And Brendan Lee has retired from the contest. So an issue for Brendan Lee. Disappointment for him on lap 9 of 25, and that was the reason for the yellow. As we continue further on with his teammates scrapping, he was before looking for 4th. Now he's trying to hang on to 5th. Late lunge! Could it be an opportunity for Frederik Rasmussen to get back on turf? Look at the speed he's got here. Enormous speed. Pass 1, goodbye to you. How about the second one? Look at the slipstream effect. Can he get 2 cars in one straight? The answer is yes. P5 for Frederik Rasmussen, who we welcome back to the championship action. 2 cars on the main straight as he gets himself up past Butcher and Ronhard. Ronhard, who was looking at P4, now down to 7th.
Massive move for Frederik Rasmussen, who is desperately trying to get some kind of points tally as we end event 1. Ronhard down to 7th. We saw in the background just a moment ago Donoso fighting his hard tyres as well. Interesting to see Danny Beresnay in the pits already, and has got a fresh set of medium tyres. Are we seeing another Australia unfolding? We'll see where Danny Beresnay ends up in all of this, but that's an early pit stop from the Mercedes driver, and he's going for something aggressive, just like we saw in Melbourne.
Fantastic. The waiting is over, and we are going to see who responds to that. Conversations will be going on between team and driver, and they will be asking themselves, do you respond to Beresnay? Do you continue to run out front? That's the question. He will have fresher rubber at this stage. He will have an opportunity to close down the gap. We'll keep you up to date with his pace.
Beresnay's flying. Beresnay, compared to Declan Barrett in 18th, he is closing up very, very quickly indeed is Dane Beresnay. So we'll keep an eye on his lap times. But yeah, you can just see it, just tumbling at the moment. So the medium tyres, of course, completely fresh, working very well indeed, as we see Jarno Opmeer pulling out of the slipstream there just to cool down the car and make sure everything is working to its optimum condition and to make sure the temperatures don't spike. But yes, we've got another driver.
Benham.
Oh, that's the pit lane. There you go.
Yeah, Benham's come in as well in the second Mercedes. So they're loving the gap that they're seeing on the screen. That gap's fluctuating a lot, so we'll check in with that. Dane Beresnay goes past Jake Benham. And a second stop. Mercedes feeling confident with their strategy with both cars. It's Jake Benham's first start in the championship today. He's got a 5-second time penalty for exceeding track limits. Frustration for Jake Benham as he's done that, and that's a tough one. He's 3 seconds behind his teammate. He's got the 5-second penalty. A 5-second penalty in a championship this close. That is a really, really rough moment for the driver who is hoping to get in the mix. It's his first start in the championship today.
Yeah, really tough for Benham because usually sometimes you have exceeding track limits, but it's when you're fighting another driver. But of course Benham was in the pits then, so he wasn't fighting anyone else unless something unprecedented has happened. And of course we'll wait and see, because of course Pookie that we had in Bahrain, he had that penalty hanging over him for many, many laps, and we were factoring that in, but that was taken away. So Benham right now has that 5-second penalty, but we'll wait and see for clarification and confirmation from the stewards after the race.
Yeah, teams do get a right of appeal. Enjoyed that. Watched the pre-show earlier. Enjoyed the stewarding section that we had.
Good, wasn't it?
Walking through some of the decisions and why they took the decision that they did. A couple more peeling into the pits, including Thomas Ronhaar. And it's going to be a swoop around the outside to keep the position for Otis Lawrence. He's staying in the lead at the moment. Great performance by this young Welsh rookie who is having the time of his life out there. Comfortable in this arena, behind the wheel and leading Tom Manley. Both Lawrence and Manley know there's a big opportunity out there. Matt Gallagher's got something to tell us.
I'm pointing at the screen, Alex, and I'm getting excited, and that usually happens quite a bit. But Beresnay is 3.8 seconds clear of Ronhaar. He's right in the mix of taking the lead of this race with that medium undercut.
Oh, incredible that so they didn't do the same thing that they did previously in Melbourne, where they brought Beresnay in very, very early, and then they did the opposite thing. They did the same thing with both cars, but surely it would have vaulted them to the very front of the field and 2 cars at the front of the field, which they've still got in terms of track position. That's an intriguing prospect.
It's so aggressive. It's, of course, the other drivers haven't come in. Beresnay's going to be very much under fire as we come towards the end of this race. But he's going 1.5 seconds a lap quicker than Lawrence at the moment. So that just tells you just how quick he's going. He's 8.9 off the back of the train now. That's how quickly Dane Beresnay is going at the moment. But can he hold on for 13 more laps on these medium tyres? He's going to be the chaos causer. He is going to be the one that's going to be trying to hold on to the win as we see other drivers coming into the pits now.
Lawrence is coming in. So is Alfie Butcher looking for the move to the inside with Frederik Rasmussen. He's the Red Bull driver you're looking at in your picture. And in comes, who has made their way in there? Was that Alvaro Caraton we were following in the pits? I believe it was. He's back in the Williams seat today. So, very, very aggressive once again for Mercedes. 2 cars running line astern, at least they were.
Ronhaar's jumped Lawrence.
Yeah. So that is a big move. So that's the joy of getting the new rubber first. Is it the right way to go? There are a lot of corners that rely on traction around here. Fassi got his first podium in the championship at this circuit last year with a switchback move at the end, all the way to the line. That was towards the end of the race. So you can see those who have stopped. And Dane Beresnay will shake his hand afterwards because he has changed the complexion of our races so far this year. Mercedes love a roll of the dice. We had one retirement. It's our friend Brendan Lee who is out at this stage. 19 still running. Tom Manley with the race lead. Brilliant sentence to say. Jarno Opmeer hanging back 0.6 of a second away. Ismail Fassi hasn't had the race pace that we've seen from him on other occasions. And Frederik Rasmussen with a great move on 2 cars in one straight.
So Benham needs to play a role here for Beresnay. Benham has this penalty that you have to assume he's going to keep at this stage. We don't know, but Benham has to play a role now for Beresnay as we see a few more pit stops. Jarno Opmeer carrying on, actually taking the net lead now, or the race lead, in fact, because he hasn't stopped. So Opmeer, no surprise he's going long. But Benham needs to try to stop the likes of Lawrence, who was the leader before these pit stops, and Donoso and Butcher behind to help his teammate.
Yeah, all in now for Benham as he is putting the pressure on. So, great early stint of the race for Lawrence, but he's found himself, understandably, this was always going to happen when we're merged together in a trade. Some have pulled the trigger early. Others have waited for the more traditional strategy. If the tyres fall away, you're going to be in serious trouble. It's everyone started on the hards. We've moved to the mediums. And we're at lap 14 of 25.
It's flying by, isn't it?
It's suspiciously quiet out there. We've seen some racing. Josh Edu is the driver that we're on board with, newly with Alpine for this season, carrying so much speed all the way through this circuit. It's effectively like a Monza, really, in terms of the average speed, only with the walls right there, and the driver's not with any opportunity. You're not holding the steering wheel in the same way that we've seen in early races, and as a result, the driver's just fed the touch stuff all the way around the lap. It's been great to watch, and the race once again in the balance as we continue to ride on board with Josh Edu. You're looking at Thomas Gao and Joni Tormala, the 2 cars ahead. Coming into the pits, no. Getting a little bit of slipstream and staying out as we see Jarno Opmeer has now taken the lead. He's gone past Tom Manley.
Opmeer and Manley carrying on for another lap. Are they going to go for an aggressive strategy here with 10 laps to go? I can only imagine they'll be coming in at the end of this lap as Alfie Butcher sets the fastest lap of the race. Ronhaar's pushing very hard. In fact, I think they're fighting.
Lawrence has got past Thomas Ronhaar. Key move for the race. Key move potentially for the win.
And Benham's through as well. So Benham is the lead of that train behind his teammate now. 1.2 seconds the gap. How are Mercedes going to play that? Because if Beresnay brings Benham into play, they utilise the DRS together and then be very clever with their energy usage. Those 2 Mercedes could defend each other for those positions.
It is incredible if they can do that. Currently separated by a big margin of over a second. Will they address that now and try and seal the carriage door shut of the DRS train?
Down. There you go, DRS. DRS for Benham.
It's reminiscent of Carlos Sainz and Lando Norris in 2023. Only these 2 are on the same team. Mercedes, can they have done it again? Can they have found their way into the positions to work together to make it mighty hard for everyone? But then you've still got to deliver on the track,
for Ronhaar.
And that was big risks being taken by Thomas Ronhaar, who's in the mix once again. He went early for the rubber, and this one's going to be decided towards the end as we see the Ferraris. Man, don't really know what to say. 2 great guys, and they're just continuing on, because what else is there really to do? Tom Manley's in, Josh Edu is in, so is Jarno Opmeer. And welcome the train down to turn number 1. And Jake Benham sliding to the inside, racing his teammate Danny Beresnay. We're talking about team tactics. We're going 3 wide. This race explodes out of nowhere. Jake Benham gets through, but so does Otis Lawrence. Extraordinary. We were talking about DRS trains and working with your teammate, and Benham just hammered through.
Work together, lads. That'll be, well, especially from Danny Beresnay. He's going to say, what's going on there? Why are we going side by side into the first couple of corners? He needs to get back past Lawrence. I've just heard in my ear, Jake Benham's penalty will be removed at the end of this race. That does not exist. Benham is very much in the hunt here for a victory if he can hold on.
Him knowing that information makes the last couple of corners make slightly more sense.
Absolutely, especially with the whole narrative that we were saying in qualifying. Benham's fighting for a seat within Mercedes, let alone trying to get a result here.
Well, that surprised us, but knowing that the penalty will not apply, maybe it shouldn't have. And that was a really bold move, especially to make on your teammate, especially when there's a large prize fund for the Constructors' Championship, because yes, Benham got through, but now it's all on his shoulders, because he's allowed Lawrence through as well. And where do you want to be? He's letting Lawrence go back to the front. Now it's getting really spicy. Pass and repass as the net race lead. I want to clarify this. Net race lead belongs to Otis Lawrence on the circuit at the moment. But my word, has he got some company.
Is Benham going to shake for a move down towards turn 1? He has a little look, but thinks better of it. There's an Aston in the background as well of Donoso trying to get through on Ronhaar. Ronhaar manages to just about get the purchase out of the corner. They're still almost side by side. Another thing I wanted to mention that I was looking at on the timing screens, Otmir's given himself so much work to do with 8 laps to go, but he is flying out there. So do not discount Jarno Otmir winning this race.
Jarno Otmir loves a strategy where he stays out there for a while, he comes in and he attacks on fresh tyres towards the end. That's exactly the situation that he's got. Got to make up a lot of ground. Josh Croson is out there, still yet to stop. Same applies for Barry Burman, same applies for Declan Barrett. They have to, as per the rules. Who's getting a nose to the inside there? That is very tight. Alvaro Carreton, Frederik Rasmussen. Carreton and Rasmussen scrapping for what is 11th at the moment. And Otmir will have an opportunity to breeze by. It's how quickly, how efficiently can you make these moves? Because that 17 at 25, so much of this is high speed. You've got the braking zones at 13, you've got turn 1, and you've got turn 27. If you're going to make the fresh tyres work, you've got to be making moves all the time, all the way through those corners, and that's exactly what Jarno Otmir is doing into the braking zone of turn 27. Out front, you've got Otis Lawrence, Jake Benham, Danny Beresnay, and Thomas Ronhaar fighting it out. We're on board with Thomas Ronhaar as we make our way through. More drivers beginning to pit. The fastest that goes to Jarno Otmir, who is setting a scorching pace out there, Matt.
Yeah, 29.0 tells you all you need to know about how quick Jarno Otmir is going right now. Championship leader Ismail Fassi coming under pressure from both Red Bulls behind, I would say. So Ismail Fassi on for a 7th place at the moment, with Jarno Otmir yet to pass him. So that's going to be not a huge points haul at the end of this one, unless he can do something very special in these next 7 laps. But just keep an eye on Otmir. He is flying out there. Fassi's now trying to attack Donoso for what is currently P7. Is he going to try around the outside? Oh. Yes, he is. But it looks like Donoso just about keeps the inside line.
No, they're always going to be side by side.
No, they're still side by side.
They remain side by side, but not for much longer. Fassi in the 2nd phase of the exit of the corner. Top bravery and 7th place, his reward. Declan Barrett still needs to make his mandatory tyre change.
Are Racing Bulls doing something cheeky here with Declan Barrett, trying to bring Tom Manley, who's on fresh tyres like Otmir, into play somehow?
Try any tactic you like.
Yeah.
Whatever works, because it's just been really, really thrilling all the way through. And this is incredible. We've got no idea who's going to take this one. Are we going to have a 16-year-old rookie take his maiden win? 3 wide. It was nearly a massive crash. Nearly a massive crash there, as Donoso, Carreton and Rasmussen risking their race down to turn 27.
Otmir crucially ahead of Fassi as well, now up to 7th as we have 3 wide going down towards turn 1.
Lawrence got there. Lawrence got the lead. Jake Benham followed him through as well. The top 2 are safely by, and the well-behaved nature of the early laps is forgotten. Lawrence, then Benham, then Barrett, who still needs to stop. Danny Beresnay with that fantastic move made by Jake Benham earlier on, his teammate, who was really brave to risk it up against your teammate like that. And pulling out of the way, is it?
Declan Barrett, that was.
Yeah, Declan Barrett's got to be pulling out of the way. That would be the reason for the yellow flag. Thomas Gow has got a 3-second penalty. Right. Lots of fun so far. Completely changed again. Yeah. We've been preparing for this all the way through, that it's going to come down to it. Last year's race, according to my printout, was won by 5 seconds, and there was a scrap for the final place on the podium. Imagine such a gap. Imagine such a margin. It was Freddie Rasmussen last year. Now we're going to see everyone glued together at the end.
Not in 2025, Alex, do we see 5-second gaps, that's for sure. We're running on with Tom Manley, who I feel like he's just not made the same progress as Otmir, who's up in 6th. This is the one part of Manley's game it seems he can't quite utilise, are these fresh tyres in a gaggle full of cars that are currently struggling on worse degradation. He's going to make the move on Alvaro Carreton up to 11th. Is he going to try and shape for a move on the car ahead as well?
When it turns into a traction race, it should favour him. It will favour him. He's in the slipstream of the car in front. Car in front is Freddie Rasmussen, as we are ready to see Red Bull versus Racing Bull. And looking further back, Josh Edu is going through as well. He was on a similar strategy. Lucas Blakely is up to 13th position. As we go back to the front, Otis Lawrence trying to win as a 16-year-old in the championship. We've said his name a lot. He's had great, inspired moments. Next question is, Matt, do you want to lead at this stage of the race?
I think if you're Otis Lawrence, probably. You've got the tyre advantage of Benham and Beresnay behind. They're almost like your rear gunners, in my opinion. He's got a 7/10 gap at the moment. And I feel like this is almost a rehearsal for the final lap for Lawrence, where he will be able to extend the gap enough to be able to defend. If he had drivers of similar tyre degradation and age, I think it'd be a different story. But right now, I think Lawrence is absolutely in the pound seats to win this one, unless Otmir, in the next 3 or 4 laps, can dispatch of Ronhaar and the 2 Mercedes. Then I think it's the Red Bull drivers.
Otmir is he's in his comfy seat right now. This is how he loves to win races.
He really does. I mean, oh, look at that!
Oh, he spun out! He spun out! Dane Beresney into the wall, out of the race, collecting other cars. Massive accident. One of the biggest crashes we've ever seen in F1 sim racing. Wheel gone there and out of the race. Josh Edu, Frederik Rasmussen, Dane Beresney, Donoso, Tormala, Barrett, and our earlier retirement of Brendan Lee. An enormous accident as we saw the scrapping going all the way, and it went to a moment the which of like I haven't covered in this championship.
5 cars out in one impact there. Dane Beresney, sadly, being the driver that caused that with, I believe it seemed to be Thomas Ronhaar that he was fighting at the time. We're going to replay. Here we go. Let's take a look what happened.
How about this? Thomas Ronhaar tries to come back in.
Yeah.
Has to keep it pinned. If he doesn't keep it pinned, he's losing position. Spins as he comes back onto the racetrack. And Josh Eden, Frederik Rasmussen, the man
that's
who
not
went
an overtaking manoeuvre, Alex. I'm sorry. Into that corner, Ronhaar cannot be sticking a nose in there, in my opinion.
Donoso Tormala eliminated in a dramatic moment in the 4th round of the year. It's lap 21 of 25. We promised you chaos. That's a big one. And frustration in the arena. I've never seen that many cars taken out at once in the time I've been covering it. But big frustration for the drivers involved. Otis Lawrence leads. Jake Benham's penalty is a myth. It's not going to apply. We've heard that from race control. So Jake Benham in a position to challenge at the end. Jarno Otmir is in 3rd. Alfie Butcher is in 4th. Our championship leader at the start of this one, Ismail Fassi, is in P5. And if he can keep it going in P5 on a day where he's not had the race pace of others at the front, it's very important. It's the Max Verstappen rule, isn't it? It's very, very important that a potential P5 does not turn into a P10. Great driving so far for our championship leader. Brilliant move earlier on to get past his teammate, who is now out of the race, for Jake Benham. Jake Benham, who told you,
he did,
when I get in this seat, I can win the race. He's got one driver in front of him, so it will be 1 start, 1 win for Benham if he can get there. It would be a 16-year-old rookie winning if it's Otis Lawrence, and it would be the Jarno Otmir show in full production once again if he goes for a long first stint and roars back through the field.
Otmir, of course, off the back of those 2 1-second penalties that he got in the previous race in Bahrain, which I'm sure he felt incredibly gutted about because he finished 11th, so he didn't actually pick any points up. Fell further behind in the drivers' standings, of course, trying to take Red Bull to a team's championship as well. Otmir biding his time now, it looks like. Lap 22 of 25. We've had to reset slightly as to whatever we've just seen in these last few laps. Amazing. But Otmir still, I think, is the favourite to win this one. He just has to get through on Benham. Benham now does not have his teammate to help him defend. Otmir is coming for him.
22 of 25. You're watching the battle for the lead. It's nearly a 3-car battle for the lead. Around the outside goes Jake Benham to take first place in the race. Otis Lawrence will try and fight back, and Jarno Otmir is the driver we're on board with, currently in 3rd, but that might be about to change. Enormous speed down the main straight. He's trying to breeze past the pair of them. Under the late braking move, past 1. How about a second? No, it's Otis Lawrence who gets ahead.
Otis so late on the brakes there to try and keep the lead, and he does in the Aston Martin. I think Jarno Otmir thought he had the lead there, but Otis Lawrence so late on the brakes, squeezed the Red Bull driver just about enough and within the rules, and continues on in the lead. Lawrence very, very crucial to stay in P1, but Otmir crucially now, 2nd place. That's where he wants to be, probably going into the last lap with fresher tyres. He can close the gap to an overtaking opportunity.
Otis Lawrence has a long future in this championship. We're looking at the driver who is currently in the lead. I thought Otmir was going to breeze past both of them there. Jake Benham. Just a reminder for you, if you're just switching on, if you're just pressing play, Jake Benham's penalty does not apply. That will be rescinded afterwards. Jake Benham is still part of this battle, but Jarno Otmir has the fresher tyres, has the opportunity to try and roar to another victory After the disappointment of a couple of penalties and no points yesterday, he's in position to do what he did early in the season when he took victory in China. We're heading to the penultimate lap of the race, and that penultimate lap of the race will be led by Jarno Opmeer.
Here we go then. Does Otis Lawrence try and fight back as we head now down the main straight and towards turn one? Jarno Opmeer probably deploying some energy to make sure he continues in the lead. Will Otis Lawrence pull a move down the inside? Let's have a look and see. No, he slots in this time. So Jarno Opmeer is our leader. With 1 lap to go, he's decided he wants to lead from the front, utilise those medium tyres and try to get the gap that he needs, just like in China.
Jarno Opmeer versus Otis Lawrence. Line astern we go. Jake Benham in third, Alfie Butcher fourth, our championship leader Ismail Fassi in fifth. Ron Haar part of a huge smash involving Edu, Rasmussen, Beresne, Donoso and Tormala that took all of the drivers out. And this is turn 13. Where are you going to place your car? Remember what we saw earlier in the season in Shanghai when Jarno Opmeer elected to lead that final lap, toughed it out at the hairpin, took the win.
I think if Jarno had a contract to sign about this race of what terms and conditions he wanted, I don't think a 16-year-old rookie trying to win his first race in P2 is what he would sign off on. So Otis Lawrence, what has he got left in the tank? He doesn't have the tyres that Jarno Opmeer does currently. But can he get close enough with DRS slipstream and a bit of energy?
He will hope that he's got lots to deploy. Let's see how close he gets as we go on to the end. Alfie Butcher is fighting Jake Benham for third. Jarno Opmeer on a day where it looks like cool heads might prevail. That's a handy lead to take over the line to the 25th and last lap. Are we going to see a late lunge to try and change all of that? No opportunity at the moment. Still Benham hangs on to third position. It's Opmeer versus Lawrence for the win.
And we've got some team comms we can play you right now.
Can I burn? Can I burn?
No, you don't need. You don't need.
But I'm. Do you see how high wing I am? I'm just trying to be safe. Jarno's on none.
So high wings, Otis Lawrence is running, but he's close to Jarno Opmeer.
This is a good position to be in. You can see a bit of recovery going on out front for Jarno Opmeer, recharging. He will deploy all of the energy that he has. Will it be a multiple champion taking a 14th victory in the championship? Will it be a 16-year-old rookie? The answer is just a few corners away on the last lap of the race.
Here we go. Can Otis Lawrence get anywhere near to Jarno Opmeer? You have to imagine Jarno is going to be saving that energy where he possibly can, but here comes Otis.
He's waiting. He goes 3:22, 23. The corner count goes to 27.
It's 2/10.
It's getting closer and closer with the win on the line. The Red Bull leading. The Aston Martin. Will it be the champion? Will it be the rookie? Trying to go around the outside goes Otis Lawrence. Will he be able to get there? It's side by side to the line. It's a drag race to the line. Who's going to get there? It's going to be so close. Who cuts the beam first? It's Otis Lawrence who takes the checkered flag, who takes his first victory in the championship. And the 16-year-old rookie has won a drag race to the line. He's beaten Jarno Opmeer by the barest margin. Absolutely superlative stuff. How did he do that? What on earth was the gap across the line? I don't believe my eyes. 3 thousandths of a second. Yes, Otis Lawrence, you really did just do that.
Otis Lawrence, you are an F1 Sim Racing winner. And to beat Jarno Opmeer, of all drivers, by 3 thousandths of a second, I thought Jarno had it.
Yeah.
With the wings that Otis had said on the team radio, he said he was running higher wings. It was side by side out of the corner. Jarno had slightly better tyres as well. But it was Otis Lawrence, race winner at 16 years old.
An incredible end to a mind-blowing event. Stupefying stuff. Decided in the final metre of the race. Otis Lawrence started from the front row. He improves 1 position and he wins the contest by 3 thousandths of a second. That's entertainment.
Get your calendars out right now and put the dates in for event number 2 and event number 3. I'm sure Tom will have event number 2 for you a little bit later. But we promised you chaos. We gave you it. A photo finish at the end. A brand new race winner once again. New winners or different race winners in the first 4 races. Sign me up for the rest of the season, Tom Deacon.
You're signed up, Matt. I've already looked at the contract. I mean, I don't know where do you start with that? I mean, let me tell you this. From listening to the drivers, getting snippets, I feel incredibly privileged to be able to hear some of the things that they've been talking about, saying there is a whole host of drivers who are just so angry right now. And as they should be. There are so many drivers who are elated right now, and one of them is just reaching just behind where we are here in the comms desk and the desk to host the show, and that is Otis Lawrence. He is buzzing, and 0.003 of a second. I don't think we've had a closer winning margin than that. I mean, that is phenomenal. But
we must have just heard the emotion there. He was, I mean, it's brilliant.
He's ecstatic. And that is, it's a complete yin and yang. It's an absolute contrast between what some drivers are feeling. The Mercedes are not happy.
Yeah.
The Red Bulls are not happy. In terms of the engineers, they had to calm down. I heard Tom Manley. I heard so many drivers not happy. Ron Hart didn't say much. You didn't hear a peep from him. And the stewards started this show for what they will have to investigate and look into. What a race you just called there, gentlemen.
Yeah, what I will say is that let's focus on the positive right now, because I don't think anyone had an answer for Otis Lawrence. Jarno Opmeer was the only one that could come close with how fresh his medium tyres were. And look at the race result. Oh, sorry, 4 thousandths of a second.
4.
They've rounded up to 4 rather than 3.
Up to 4.
Oh, that's a massive margin, and he's dominating.
Forget about it. Stop talking about it. I tell you what, though, Jake Benham was in the fight as well. That's his highest ever finish in F1 sim racing.
I'll go out on a whim. I'll go out on a whim as well, Tom, and say that Thomas Ronhaar most likely won't finish 5th after some stewards' investigations. From what we saw, it looked like it was his fault. But we'll wait for the stewards to make their minds up on that one. But Ronhaar, of course, coming home in 5th. Even with that incident, we felt like they all went out. But no, Ronhaar still finished in 5th for now.
Yeah, and I tell you what, maybe this is your first ever race you've ever watched. And if it is, I mean, wow.
And I'm really sorry about your speakers. That's on me. But that was one of the best finishes that I've ever seen. That was fantastic.
We felt the adrenaline, JC. Talk us through when you're leading the commentary on that, and you started so calmly, and you even apologized. Said it's very calm right now.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you, not the day to have food poisoning, right?
Well, there you go. That's the reason why Dixie did not start the show at the front of the desk.
But what a finish. What a fantastic finish at the end. And throw those results out, because my timing page says 0.003 of a second. It was epic. It was brilliant.
You zoomed
in on the iPad. It was decided at the end.
Look at that. You're going to show it right now.
Come here.
It says 0.003
of a second, right?
If Dixie says it's 0.003, that's it.
It's 0.003 of a second. How great from Jarno Opmeer to play fair so we could have a great finish like that. Yeah. How wonderful to see it decided on the line. Again, a gaggle of 5 or 6 drivers that could have taken that one. And for a 16-year-old to, after an event of
Otis's dad.
Yeah, wonderful to see behind us, and just
having a picture underneath the winners title
great.
As well.
That's great.
And that's the thing.
Get out of the way so everyone can see it happening.
Take the screenshot. There we go.
But I didn't mean to cut you off, but you just see what
you
it
did.
means. I know I did, but I apologise because there was a good reason for the fact that Ansel was there.
You're bang on.
He's a dad that I've not met before, because Otis this is his first championship. Steps in, dad's there because of the age. Alfie Butcher had that last year. It's the good luck charm of the dads coming here and just helping these drivers in those moments where they need an extra push, and just to you got this. Otis has turned up, and he was actually disappointed with the last 3 races in as much as, I've done well, but I know I could do even better.
He wanted more, and I think what's interesting, of course, Alfie Butcher did incredible last year and had some standout race-winning moments, but the difference is, right here, right now, we stand here, Otis Lawrence is a championship contender.
He really is.
That's the difference here, is that there is 2 events to go. Otis is absolutely loving life.
He's won his 4th race in the championship. I mean, what an incredible thing to do, but I think what will really please him, there'll be a lot in that race that does, but to show hints that you belong and then knit it all together in the final race of the event, that will give him confidence that he can do it all the way through for events 2 and 3.
It's interesting you say that sense of belonging. Jake Benham's probably got that right now after that performance. He is with Claire Cottingham.
Yeah, we were unsure who we were going to see in third place. And of course, it is Mr. Jake Bennon. He had his 5-second penalty taken away. Let's just talk about that first. Congratulations also for your podium. What happened with the penalty and why was it taken away?
So the penalty was out the pit lane. I got a random 5-second penalty. I still don't really know how, but yeah, no, it's all good. It was just out the pit lane on the inside. So yeah, it should be all fine.
A bit of a chaotic race. It was a slow burner, I'm not going to lie, for Jeddah. And then obviously everything happened with Thomas Ronhaar and your teammate as well, Dane Berejnay, who looked quite angry, obviously, with what happened. However, you managed to stay out of it completely. Are you pleased with your performance?
Yeah, I'm really, I think there's not really much more I could have done. It's just a shame for Dane, mainly because we were looking for some really good points from lower in the top 10. And obviously we're looking for the Constructors' Championship. So yeah, I'm not really sure what happens. I'm not going to point fingers or anything, but yeah, I don't think it was Dane's fault, and it's just really unfortunate because he's doing well in the drivers as well. So yeah, still good points on my end, but shame for Dane.
And you've not been racing the whole event as well, so is it that much sweeter that you're able to get pick up a podium as well?
Yeah, it's obviously always nice when you get a podium. It's just ultimately you're obviously always trying to help the team even when you're not racing, because that's how Constructors' Championships are won. You can't just have 2 pit drivers and that's it. You always have to have that third at least helping in the engineering or whatever. So yeah, it should. Looking forward to event 2. Pace should be good, and yeah, ultimately just a really good drive here in Jeddah tonight.
I was going to say, coming away in a really strong position are Mercedes from this weekend. So congratulations. It is third place for you. I'm going to let you run off and celebrate with your teammate now, and I'm going to bring in Jarno Opmeer. So thank you so much, Jake. Jarno, I mean, breathtaking end there to that. Unfortunately, it was you that slightly, and I mean slightly, didn't manage to make it across the line fastest. I mean, talk me through your perspective.
It was a crazy race anyway, like always in Jeddah. It was a lot of fun. Had to avoid a massive incident between Dane and Thomas, which I was taking it very carefully, and then Alfie just shot past me, so I had to re-overtake him again. But yeah, all the overtakes were mega fun. It was a really fun race. And then yeah, last lap, of course, I think it was clear I had quite a bit more straight line speed, so I decided to stay ahead. And it seemed to me like I'd won the race, but yeah, I just got slightly tire hooked coming out of the final corner, which lost me momentum. And yeah, that made a difference in the end, considering it was only 3,000. Yeah, we will see. It's not legal, but we will see what will happen.
Okay, well, I'm not going to get into that because I'm sure the stewards, if there is an issue, will be looking at that, and you can have a conversation yourself because I'm not getting involved with the stewards. They're scary. I've spoken to them. The performance, however, you mentioned the straight line speed. It was incredible to watch, and I was watching you on your rig and the concentration you had. You said it was fun. I mean, your face showed something different, but it was incredible the speed that you had.
Yeah, I knew I had great race pace. Pace in general around Jeddah has always been good for me. And yeah, especially in a game where overtaking is slightly easier than previous years, then you can really show that and cut through the field. So yeah, it was great fun to cut through the field. This event in general, I felt like I've been able to win every race, which is really important. Now we just need to kind of get into that winning rhythm. Especially if we want to catch Ismail, of course. So
I feel like we're seeing the old Jarno back, and it's great to watch. Thank you so much for the entertainment, and well done for your second place.
Thank you.
In only his 4th race in the F1 Sim Racing World Championship, it is Otis Lawrence. Congratulations, Otis. My first time meeting you. You being here at the championship. Talk us through that.
And his dad.
I was going to get to Ansel. I'm not going to let Ansel take away this moment for Otis, but this, of course, is Ansel Lawrence.
Yeah, I just got one thing to say, that's all. We're just so proud of Otis. He's achieved so much so quickly. 16 years old. Oh, we are absolutely proud of you, man. Oh man, and he's doing school exams last week, and we come up here, and he's managed to win a race straight away. So thank you and well done, right?
Oh, look at that! I love that love between father and a son. Look at that! He's trying to steal your moment, Otis. Now back to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
He's been pushed away. I like it, Otis.
Yeah.
Talk me through that.
I'm very happy. You know, it's my first race winning F1 sim racing. You know, I did the best I could. I'm happy, and yeah, let's carry this on for the future.
Yeah, talk us through that race. It was chaotic. How did you get that across the line first? I mean, what happened?
Honestly, you know, we played the strat to perfection. You can see Jarno's trying to get past us. I think Jarno went a bit too early with overtaking me, and I knew I had higher wings, so yeah, it worked at the last corner. You can see right here, I kind of dummied him to the inside, and then when we were out the outside, he said I tire hooked him, but where else am I meant to go? So, you know, I'm very happy. You can see how close it was. It was 3 thousandths, I think, coming across the line.
It was.
And yeah, I'm happy.
I'd love to just kind of get an understanding, Otis, look at the emotion and how much it means to you. You can see that, but how cool, calm and collected you are as well at 16.
Yeah.
Are you fazed by this at all? 'Cause it doesn't look like it.
I think I don't show it that much, but yeah, it's quite nerve-wracking, especially when you're trying to fight for a win. So yeah.
Yeah, talk us through those last couple of laps, like the emotion, the heartbeat. Could you feel your heart thudding away? Like, what were those last couple of laps like?
Man,
for you?
I thought I was going to have a heart attack in those last few laps. It was crazy. Like, it was, I think, lap 22 where I started really getting a leg shake, because that was a point where I knew I could win it. So yeah, it was very nerve-wracking. The last lap, I was just trying to stay as close as I could to Jarno. Try not to crash at turn 4 as well, because turn 4 is very deadly with the front left tyre. So yeah, got it at the end, and I'm just buzzing.
Tell me the process. Wind it back a couple of days for me. Coming into this arena for the first time, seeing your position, knowing that you're going to be behind the wheel. Tell us the progression from the lights going out for the first time and then suddenly being in position to take the win in just your 4th race.
Honestly, before this, I had a lot of anxiety of how I was going to do well and how I wasn't, maybe in a few areas. But to be honest, I've came here, and I think just because of everyone's here, it's put less pressure. And obviously, you know, I just have to take it bit by bit. So, you know, I think I've came here and done the best job I can, and that's the main thing.
Can I get a final word from you, Ansel? Have you been on the phone to Wales? Have you been flying that flag proudly?
Yeah, well, the whole family's probably, I know they're all watching this, and yeah, his mother's messaging me all the time. I think you're going to be hearing from him a bit later on, but yeah. Thanks, Otis. We love you, man. We love you. All right.
Is there anything else?
That's it. Can I get my dad off TV? Is that
how did the exams go? That's what I want to know. How does that compare?
I love that.
Having a good week.
I want to shout out a few people as well. All my schoolmates. Rylan Carroll.
Down there. All down there.
Tom Lenny. Joe Baker. All the friends, Leland, Curtis.
Don't forget a name.
Absolutely everyone. Sorry if I missed your name, but you're all good.
Oh, Otis Lawrence, Ansel Lawrence, phenomenal. We love to see that. Congratulations to the Aston Martin driver. Well, there you have it, as we let those guys head away from the main desk now and just enjoy the elation. The adrenaline was definitely still flowing there, and there it is. The drivers' standings led by a Spaniard, Ismail Fassi, and then the Dutchman Jarno Opmeer in second, and then that flag, the flag of Wales, being raised proudly by Otis Lawrence and the rest of the drivers there. And then Jake Benham in 10th place, getting that P3 in the race in Jeddah. Top stuff from him, his best ever result. Yes.
Our reigning champion in 16th.
I mean, it's not a surprise. I'm going to say it. It's not a surprise after what we've just witnessed. But if we started with that idea being told, right, we're going to come into the 2025 championship and Frederik Rasmussen would be way down on the driver standings, I wouldn't have believed you. There's the constructors standings, and we are getting geared up, ready. We've still not ended the show just yet because Marcel Kiefer is going to join us. But when we come back in February, on the 11th for Silverstone, then we're heading to Spa, then Zandvoort, then Kota. I mean, it's just set up perfectly. Marcel Kiefer, congratulations. You did say Otis would win that race. Matt couldn't copy you, But yeah, what made you believe he could do it? Because he's been very annoyed of how he's finished in the 3 races before that, with a 5th place, 6th place, and an 8th place. Now he's your winner.
You know, it's funny because Otis was already good in league racing on Jeddah. So I was thinking, if he's doing well in quali, he gets a good position. There's so much chaos, and sometimes actually, let's call him still an underdog, they actually do well when chaos unfolds. It happened with Fassi a couple of times, and now it happened with Otis, and he's actually now also in the championship fight if he keeps it up. So, yeah.
Matt, it was great to have him on the desk. I don't think I've ever had a driver go, is that it? Is that it? Are you done?
I'm a pretty big deal now.
It's probably because he had his dad with him. He's like, I think he's going to say something pretty embarrassing.
Yeah. No, that was totally.
But he is a big deal, isn't he? He's just won his 4th ever race in the Sim Racing Championship. What a finish as well. I got to say, like, we've covered a lot of these races now. That was just something else. Because we hyped it up all the way through. Chaos this, chaos that. We had a massive 5-car accident, and the race was decided by 0.003 of a second. Fantastic.
Are you not entertained? Is what I'll say.
And against the one and only, probably the best driver in F1 sim racing, Jan Ottmer.
I mean,
that's actually crazy.
Honestly, the way he's able to progress forward, we saw the difference today. There were multiple drivers on that strategy. He made it work. He always makes it work.
Okay, Marcel, there's so much to chat about in this tyre research you've been doing. I'm sure you're going to talk about maybe the pile-up that happened. Danny Berezhny was furious, but let's
tyre research after that.
I mean, my amazing prediction of the strategy worked out perfectly. Nobody started on the softs or mediums, which was the prediction, unfortunately. Everyone actually did the hards. In the end, the race-winning strategy was actually like pitting just halfway through, kind of like half-time, and Jarno had, I think, 3 or 4 lap pressure tires. It's actually a big advantage, but 4 lap pressure tires and 4,000s behind Otis, I think that's a fair deal. So.
And did you make anything of Ottmer's comments at the end about this tyre lock, and that's the reason why he didn't get the traction at the final corner and win the race?
I mean, can be, but in the end,
when we saw Lawrence's perspective, he was literally going around the corner. Like, I'm not sure he could have done too much.
You know, Jarno's on the inside. He's trying to kind of like push into him. Otis on the outside, trying to stay as tight as possible. With how the game physics works sometimes and the tires rubbing against each other, it can just be that they kind of lock a little bit together. The stewards have to decide whether it was intentional by Otis or maybe if Jarno actually provoked it. Could also be that he knew if it looks like that, maybe he would keep the position because he knew he would not get the DRS on the next straight and Otis would actually do him.
Inside the driver's minds right there.
You know, Jarno's a smart guy. He knows how to work around. That is like his greatest skill. Jarno knows the rule book and Jarno knows exactly what he needs to do to win. So.
That's why he's a 2-time champion and people fear him. I will say this, those are the provisional standings. We started this show by having Joel Taylor on the desk to talk about the stewarding and what will be happening now. Can I just mention though, as it stands, Haas have picked up their first point. I'm excited about this.
Good for them.
In all of that.
all of that. You love the Haas first point of any year, don't you?
Yeah.
That's your favourite moment.
And it's happened on the 4th race. Marcel, in terms of some incidents or things that you noticed, can you talk us through a few things?
I think it was a calm race. There was nothing big to mention. So.
Was there any big incidents? Anything that happened?
I mean, of course. There was the biggest crash in F1 sim racing history. Like there has never been a crash with I think 5 or 6 cars DNFing, and especially like actual crashing out. So
and you've got the onboard.
We have the onboard from Thomas Rona. He was, in my opinion, the person that caused it all, and we've seen throughout this whole race weekend that Rona was quite aggressive. So let's proceed forward. He was going side by side with Danny Berezhny, and to be fair, at this point. Usually this is not a corner where you want to overtake because the track is actually going very, very tight around the left. You can't really see the next upcoming corner, so you usually don't go side by side. Rona doesn't fear that, and in the end, this is actually what caused it. So Rona gets close to the wall, carries still too much speed. You can see he's already understeering whilst Danny is still trying to give him as much space. They make a bit of contact. You could argue that Danny turned into him, but at the same time, I think this was just not on. They were side by side. It's going to be hard to judge for the stewards, but we've seen throughout this whole weekend that Rona did this a couple of times in Bahrain, in Australia, and also in Australia, same thing with Berezhny into the fast speed corners.
How are you calling that, Marcel?
I mean, honestly, looking at this right now, you can actually see Danny makes the initial contact. But it's so tricky.
I don't want to put any more pressure on you, but drivers to my right,
Yeah, everyone's
drivers
having a look
to my
at this
left.
right now.
They're having a look at the
There's been
incident.
some choice words being said after watching.
But they didn't mean it. It wasn't aimed at you, mate.
Oh, no, I thought it was at me.
Compared to what we saw in the broadcast,
Right,
obviously
so we
saw
roll,
the
we roll
aerial.
through. Let's look at the impact of this.
I mean, like, Ronna's trying to correct it and push Dane then wide with the steering.
It does feel like Dane turns in first there.
Yes.
And that's,
There's the
as you
correction.
say, that's the initial contact. It seems like a racing incident.
Yes,
now,
but at
when you
this
see the
point
onboard.
also,
It's a
Dane,
big risky corner, though, to try and overtake it, isn't
you
it?
don't
Yeah.
do that usually. Like, he could have waited for the straight and go for that one, but they make contact. He's
Oh,
pushing into
man.
Dane. Dane's bouncing back from the wall, and Ronna can continue whilst Dane is going to crash out. And we will see it from behind now, from Rasmussen's POV. So they are taking the corner at normal speed. Look, this is how they actually see that. And out of nowhere, there's cars, and you can't avoid it. It's like impossible. Yeah.
Brutal.
So nothing the drivers could do. That happened for so many of them. Like, look, out of nowhere, we have this, and there's the counter ride. Another one. The other.
And this is a driver, just talking on the Frederik Rasmussen, as we mentioned, Jason, when we looked at the driver standing, this is a driver who just seems to have got caught up in all of the unfortunate. You talked about the RNG, I mean, about a bit of luck. He's had none in this event.
I mean, that was clearly Freddy's fault. Like, he should have just jumped over the other cars, and it's just excuses. If he says he couldn't avoid it, that was just pure excuse. No, obviously not. But also from the outside, we can also look at it again, and we saw it already in the broadcast, but I don't know. I mean,
we caught it there, didn't we? We caught it there in the broadcast.
Honestly,
it seemed as though Ron Howard had gone for an audacious move, which it was. But do the stewards won't take into account that, oh, it's a corner that's dangerous to do it at, right? It's the actual incident itself. They're side by side. It's just an unfortunate and potentially silly move from Ron Howard in the sense of what is he expecting to happen there. One driver had to give way, back out, and they didn't.
Yeah, but we saw this throughout this whole weekend, that Ronna, in many of these unusual places to overtake, he's going for the move and expecting the driver to kind of just move out of the way. And it doesn't always happen, especially on this corner. It's so fast. You need so much precision. And for Dane, either he brakes completely hard while he's still in the fight, and technically he was not expecting the car to go there. Then he needed to react. He turned in a little bit too early. They made contact. I would still say, man, I don't know.
Sometimes just the racing.
Hey, listen, you can't give me an answer because you won't be coming back for event 2 if it doesn't happen. It's not happening, but you're definitely coming back.
But you know, we are all here for
the events again.
We are all here for a spectacle. We all want the drivers to race hard. But there's a certain point when I feel like drivers should also think, would you actually do this in person? Like, would they sit in the car and Ronald would be like, I'm going into the most dangerous corner of the track on the inside and trying to outbrake whilst you're barely braking, and if it goes wrong, they might both end up in hospital. On the game, it's a different story, but still, we want hard racing, we want fair racing, and these kind of moves, they provoke something which I'm not a big fan of, so I'm not sure, but
Talking about not being a fan of, myself and Jake's have been playing footsie here. That needs to end. Just behind the desk here. I know, but we need to...
They can't see that, Tom. You didn't need to tell them.
No, but I feel like I should, because it's a good segue to talk about team comms.
Is it?
No, it is. It is. I'm just giving a bit of a breathing space.
Right, now let's see. Go on, carry on with the link. Let's see if we can get to the end of it.
Let's hear some of the team comms. I've got nothing.
Learn. The man does not learn. It's unbelievable, man. Yeah, it's unbelievable. Good luck, Jake.
Good luck, Jake.
Good luck. Now stay calm, Danny.
See, it's an unbelievable segue into that unbelievable. But Danny Berezny, he was, as you can see, his race is over. And what a start he's had in the first 3 races. 2 podiums, and something like that happens. He's going to be... How does he... You want to end on a good note at the end of an event to get you ready for event 2, but that's...
Well, you're not expecting that. That's pretty unprecedented, isn't it, to have a smash that big that takes out 5 cars in the Sim Racing Championship. It's a shame because obviously double podium to start the year and then all the momentum falls away.
I think it's difficult, isn't it? Because when you're on... Obviously, it's a heat at the moment. They're going very, very quickly. But from Dane Berezny's perspective, he knows he's going to go side by side with Ron Howard there. Like, what can he do to minimise the situation? As you've said, we already know that Ron Howard is doing these moves. So from Berezny's perspective, could he have done something more in order to not have that incident DNF?
I mean, he can't turn time back, but at the same time, I feel like Ronna needs a slap on his wrist because this is now the 3rd time. For me personally, as a driver, I would be furious. And like it wasn't just for Dane, it took 5 drivers out.
Yeah,
Especially Alpine, they were right behind Jarno. It could have been a great finish for Alpine, great point scoring, and both DNF from this one incident. So, yeah.
Yeah, Josh Eder was just behind us as well. Rasmussen, Joni Tormula, and then Donoso taken out there. Let's have a look at a few more replays that you've picked out for us, Marcel.
Kind of like my personal favorite race highlight. So in lap 5 also here, again an aggressive dive from Ronna where he caused... This is what I mean. I saw it already in the beginning of the race, and then it
that for me feels like a pen, right?
Yeah,
that for me is contact pushing another driver.
100%.
Yeah.
And I mean, Frederik also lost out on another position to Butcher. So
is that a 1 second penalty for you, Marcel? Is that what constitutes a 1 second now?
At
if
least,
we look back at what Jarno Opmeer got?
I would say so, yeah.
Okay.
But then again, also here we have still great battling from Jarno. There were some great battles throughout this whole race. And he picked his battles again smartly, overtook Fassi. I think Fassi's already in championship mode. That's why he's like not too fast about winning anymore. He has so many points now. If he continues scoring these results, he will be in the mix until the end of the season. And he knows that. Very mature from him. And there again, like I don't know what these moves are. Like he's trying to force a move around the outside, flicks in the wheel, nearly makes contact again. That was now the second time, and then the big crash. We all know what was coming in the end. It's a lot that happened throughout this race. Then nothing here. Frederik going for a simple overtake and another one.
Do you think, because this has been boiling, it has come to this point where we saw in the first 3 races, something like this is going to happen. Do you think this will calm the drivers down for event 2? Like you're suggesting, maybe question marks on, hey, it is a sim, but would you do this in real life, might affect their driving style into some of these corners, Marcel?
It depends if they get penalized or not, because in the end, if they get penalized, they might change something. If they don't get penalized, they will just continue because they got away with that for a long time. So, yeah.
We've spoken, haven't we, Marcel, about, oh, God, that's close to the wall as well with Berezne and Ronhaar. So it feels like this was almost brewing in some ways because, of course, this was earlier on before the impact between the two of them. But with Ronhaar, you've said about his driving style, how he's very late on the brakes, maybe even the latest on the brakes, and is almost a little bit more aggressive on the steering wheel as well to slow down. Do you feel like that driving style is almost causing some of these moments?
No, not really, because when he gets the move done, it's very controlled, but sometimes he's just like, if something happens, he might still get away with it. I think in general, Ronhaar, I have a lot of respect for him. I think his driving style is also very good. Just with the racecraft, sometimes I feel like he is not really too bothered if it goes really wrong. So yeah, I don't really see any issue with his driving style. I think he's a great competitor. He just needs to calm it down a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, we did discuss that, didn't we? Will Ronhaar rein it in a little bit? No, he went the other way.
He wants to win the championship with these kind of things. Maybe he gets even a pen, then he didn't score points again. So it's like, I don't know. He has what it takes. We all know how good he is. He did it in 22. He did it in 23. He can do it again.
What about Jake Benham? We're riding on board with him now, stepping in. What's it like for a driver? I know you didn't do too much stepping in because you're always, full-time race seat kind of guy. But stepping in for Jake, he did a phenomenal job today.
Amazing performance, honestly. Like, he can be proud of himself. I know that every driver wants a full-time seat. But if you have such a good working environment, like Pookie proved himself to be worthy of the seat. Jake now again as well. Like, both of them have podiums in their first outing for the team. It's difficult. If I would be Mercedes, I would be like, guys, next event we have to see again.
It's a good problem to have there, right? It's a good problem.
Yeah. I do not envy this task right now for Claire Cottingham to chat to Dani Berezne in her corner, we call it. There were chilled vibes yesterday. Will there be chilled vibes with Dani Berezne? Let's find out.
Well, I'm unsure if he wants a cold beer or just to scream at the moment, because I'm pretty sure that you're quite frustrated after that one, aren't you? You've been watching a couple of the replays as well. What are your views on what happened?
Well, there are some corners where you can overtake and there are some corners when you cannot really. Usually, the latter corners are the ones which have really high speed entry and are too tight for both cars to fit. So naturally, when you are the car behind, you cannot just do something for the other car to disappear. You always need to do these maneuvers in a controlled fashion and then account the position of the second car who is committed at the ideal racing line. And I don't think we've ever seen an overtake in real life in this corner, and it's for a reason. And I hate these kind of moves in esports because obviously from the outside, viewers see crashing people and just there is not enough consequence usually because there is no physical damage, no fear maybe in some of the especially younger drivers. So I think it was not my fault. I was on the racing line and Thomas was not ahead of me the majority of the braking zone to be entitled for the turn. But obviously the stewards will make a better decision.
The stewards, of course, will be looking into this. So we're not going to go into, too much about how you think it should move forward from the stewards' decision. However, from your point of view, do you think you gave Tom enough space into that corner?
Oh, well, he didn't really deserve any space, to be honest, but I still try to leave space so he can back out of it, like nearly a car length. Obviously, the slow motion images don't usually show everything because the car have a natural slide. So even though you see my car pointing at the apex, by the time I would be there, it would be at a wider angle. But you see Thomas even hitting me and both of us were slowing down. Even he couldn't stay on the track, and then when I tried to rejoin, he closed that small door that was my only chance of survival. But I'm not that frustrated because obviously racing involves crashes sometimes. I think esports in general is not that far away with the amount of car that does not finish a race compared to real life. So we always try our best to give each other space, respect, not just crash around. It's very competitive and obviously consistency matters for everyone. Here is the replay of the incident, and this is what I talk about even when I try to rejoin the track. He just turned in, followed the ideal racing line, and then I was just a passenger in my car, and it's really good that it's a sim. He is not ahead at any point. If he is ahead, that's because he carried way too much momentum. So if you grab these screenshots just before the apex when we were nearly identically alongside, it was purely because he carried so much speed that he couldn't have taken the corner at the right line, in my opinion. So I cannot just go into a hairpin flat out, say that I was next to you at the apex and just not take the turn and blame the other driver. So I feel quite positive that I could not have done anything a lot better. And even if I leave space, he could have still made contact. But what I started to say is that I'm not too frustrated because it was still a podium for the team, which is an amazing result, 15 points and 87 points in this event. And I think I did my best. 4 races I did. It was hard to prepare for all the tracks. All Q3 I attended. And even at the point of this incident, I was running with podium positions. And for that, I would like to specially thank one of my Hungarian friends. It's János Villás. Köszönöm szépen neked. Thank you very much. Because he prepared with me off-season just as a hobby. Because he really likes some Hungarian success.
Well, there you go. That's what we like to see too. Just finally, this event, I know it's ended in tears and a DNF today. And obviously a busy night for you, I'm sure, going through a lot of pictures and things like that. But it has been an incredibly positive start to the 2025 season for you, hasn't it?
Yes, I see life in steps, and there was a season in 2021 when I thought my career is over because I was not scoring any points. I was fast in the quali, race pace was not good. Some of my favorite tracks I got into incidents, and my career was going at a downhill progression from debuting in 2018 with championship P2 and then 19 P3 and then P5 and then no points. And since I joined Mercedes, I came back to the good path. I try my best to live a conscious life, a healthy life, and a balanced life because I really love F1. I really want to participate in esports and everything that involves F1 for the long term. And for that, I finally think that I've been making some steps forward, and this event with the 2 podium showed it.
How does it feel to have the belief that you gave yourself in 2021 when you thought your career was over to where you are now?
Well, I always loved racing and driving, so I never give up until there is an opportunity. So even if I'm P20 with a broken front wing, I will still try to finish a race. And this metaphor is the same with my career. Until I get a contract by anyone, this could be the last team on the grid, I will still do my best to be back on top.
Danny, I love your honesty and I love speaking to you. Thank you so much and enjoy your time. We'll see you in February.
Yeah, see.
Oh, thank you so much, Claire. Claire Cotterman doing a fantastic job in event 1. And it was really sweet.
Great.
Like, how can you not like Danny Berezny? He takes life in steps. 58 starts in F1 sim racing, 5 wins and 18 podiums after event 1. Top guy, and just how he was so measured throughout that. It was so lovely. The flip side of that is the winning comms from the Aston Martin team. I'd love to hear and see some of those, and I invite us guys to talk over them, because Otis Lawrence leaving the studio as a first-time winner in 4 races.
I think the microphone's not picking up a huge amount.
They're screaming there.
They definitely made a ton of noise because we heard it. We heard it from the desk. Look at what it means. Wonderful.
That's what that's what we watch. That's what we commentate. That's what we experience this whole championship for, right? It's these moments.
Yeah.
It's so awesome to see such a young talent that we have been hyping up. And to see the potential actually be realised is awesome.
The leg shake as well. I know. He knew what it meant. He knew what was on offer today.
In fact, both Aston Martin drivers had a leg shake.
Yeah, and I think we need to look at those rigs actually, because both legs are going off. I'm going to say this, a soft drink for Otis. I'll definitely buy him one back at the hotel later on.
Fanta's all right.
Let's talk about the next event, event 2. And I know we haven't even reflected on what's gone on so far, but we head to Silverstone Circuit. We're then in Spa, Zandvoort, and then Kota to finish off. Marcel, which one of those tracks are you most looking forward to?
Honestly, any of them. They are actually amazing tracks. I mean, Zandvoort might not be the best racetrack, but looking at these, Jarno was really slow in the past in Silverstone, but he fixed that for 2023. This could be a Jarno Ottmer event. He loves Kota, he loves Spa. He loves Zandvoort, and I think he figured out Silverstone. If he can actually manage to pull it off, he could get a clean sweep, and that would be crazy.
Wow.
Round 5,
huge.
6, 7, 8 has just been built up there perfectly.
Still tune in.
From Marcel Kiefer. And I've just had word, we'll definitely be expecting you back on the desk. Have you enjoyed Event 1, Marcel, with this role?
Of course. I loved working with Alex, with Matt, with Claire.
No, that's top, that's top stuff.
Yes.
That is top stuff.
Yes.
Matt, as we round up things for Event 1, been a highlight for you.
The whole event has been absolutely awesome. I think just seeing new stars rise, the potential that we saw at the beginning to now, Lawrence, Fassi, we've got a championship fight on our hands. Mercedes have come out of nowhere and are leading the team's championship by a healthy margin going into the second event. There are so many storylines yet to unfold. Just fast forward the time. I'm ready.
Okay, Matt's ready. Jixie, you'll be ready. No more food poisoning for you then.
No. Look, thank you to the whole crew for getting me through today. As you can tell, I've not had the easiest time. But it was a brilliant event. It's wonderful to be back behind the microphone. It has been a joy.
Okay, and I would just like to thank every single one of the drivers and all of the teams involved, and to you guys for making this so much fun. To Marcel Kiefer, Alex Jakes, Matt Gallagher, Claire Cottingham, and myself, we will catch you on the 11th of February, where we will go racing in Silverstone. Until then, take care. I can't wait to go racing again.
See you guys.